The Awakening. Captain Elena Vasquez stood at the observation deck of the U.S. Starforge, watching the swirling colors of the nebula sector through reinforced glass. The ship hummed quietly around her, a gentle sound that had become as familiar as her own heartbeat over the past 3 years. The Starforge was humanity's pride. Not the biggest ship in the galaxy, but certainly the most advanced exploration vessel humans had ever built. Elena was 41 years old, with dark hair streaked with silver and eyes that had seen wonders across a dozen star systems. She had spent 20 years exploring the galaxy, making first contact with new species, and building the bridges that brought humanity into the galactic community. The aliens respected humans for their engineering skills and their peaceful nature. Humans built the best space stations, designed the most efficient mining equipment, and created technology that made everyone's life easier. The peaceful morning ended when Lieutenant Commander Marcus Chen burst onto the bridge. Marcus was Elena's second in command, a brilliant tactical officer with Asian features and intense brown eyes. He had served with Elena for 8 years, and she had never seen him look so worried. "Captain, you need to see this immediately," Marcus said, his voice tight with urgency. Elena followed him to the main bridge, where the crew was gathered around the central display. Chief Engineer Sarah O'Brien, a red-haired woman from Ireland with hands that could fix anything, pointed to the scanner readings. Next to her stood Dr. James Okafor, the ship's xenorchaeologist, a tall Nigerian man whose excitement was barely contained. "Captain, we found something incredible," Dr. Okafor said. "The energy readings we detected aren't natural. There's a massive artificial structure hidden in the asteroid field ahead." Elena studied the display. The readings showed something enormous, larger than any space station humanity had ever built. The structure was old, incredibly old, but still generating power. "How old are we talking about?" Elena asked. "At least 50,000 years, possibly much older," Dr. Okafor replied. "The metal composition doesn't match any known species. Captain, I think we found ruins from the architects." The bridge fell silent. Every spacefaring species had heard legends of the architects, an ancient race that had built wonders across the galaxy before mysteriously disappearing. Most scientists believe the architects were just myths, stories told to explain the occasional ancient artifact found on distant worlds. "Take us closer, but carefully," Elena ordered. "I want full scans of that structure." The U.S. Starforge moved through the asteroid field with practiced ease. Pilot Lieutenant Sophia Reyes, a young woman from Mexico with steady hands and nerves of steel, navigated between the floating rocks like she was dancing. The ship's advanced sensors probed the ancient structure, revealing more details with each passing minute. What they found took their breath away. The structure was a shipyard, but not just any shipyard. It was a forge, a massive construction facility that could build entire fleets. The technology was beyond anything in the current galaxy, combining elements from dozens of different species, but unified by a design philosophy that seemed almost organic. "Captain," Sarah O'Brien called out, her voice filled with wonder. "The forge is responding to our scans. It's powering up." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. Ancient technology that responded to their presence couldn't be coincidence. "All stop. Maintain distance, and keep scanning." Before anyone could respond, the communication console lit up with an incoming transmission. The signal was strong and clear, but the origin point made Elena's blood run cold. It was coming from the edge of the solar system, and the signature matched no known friendly vessel. "On screen," Elena ordered. The main display changed to show the bridge of an alien ship. The creature that appeared was like nothing Elena had ever seen. It stood nearly 9 feet tall, with 4 arms ending in razor-sharp claws. Its skin was a deep purple-black, covered in natural armor plates. Most disturbing were its eyes, 6 of them, arranged in pairs, each glowing with cold intelligence. "I am War Prime Zethrak of the Kithera Empire," the creature said in perfect English, its voice like grinding metal. You have entered territory claimed by the Empire. You will submit immediately or face extinction. Elena stepped forward, drawing on decades of diplomatic experience. I am Captain Elena Vasquez of the Earth vessel USS Starforge. We're on a peaceful exploration mission. We weren't aware this system was claimed. Zethrak's laugh was a sound like breaking bones. Peaceful. Yes, humans are always peaceful. You build things for stronger species. You mine resources for your betters. You know your place in the galaxy. The alien's six eyes focused on Elena with predatory intensity. But you have found something that does not belong to lesser beings. The forge is ours now. Elena felt her crew tense around her. The Kythera Empire was known throughout the galaxy as conquerors and slavers. They had absorbed 17 different species over the past century, either by conquest or by forcing them into servitude. Entire civilizations had simply vanished when the Kythera decided they were no longer useful. The forge was abandoned, Elena said carefully. No one has claimed it for thousands of years. Everything in this galaxy belongs to the Kythera Empire, Zethrak replied, including your pathetic species. We have been watching humanity for years, waiting for the right moment to add you to our collection. Your engineering skills will be useful once we have properly trained you. The transmission showed more of the alien bridge, revealing other Kythera warriors. Elena's heart sank as she realized this wasn't just a scout ship. The Kythera had brought a war fleet. You have one of your human hours to evacuate that system, Zethrak continued. After that, we will take the forge and begin the conquest of human space. Your Earth colonies will burn first, so your people understand the price of resistance. The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Elena looked around at her crew. All humans, all people who had joined Starfleet to explore the galaxy and build bridges between species. None of them were soldiers, but all of them understood what the Kythera threat meant. Marcus was the first to speak. Captain, I'm reading massive energy signatures at the edge of the system. At least 40 Kythera vessels, including 3 of their planet killer ships. Elena closed her eyes for a moment, thinking. The nearest human fleet was 6 days away. The Galactic Coalition had ships closer, but she knew they wouldn't help. The Coalition was too afraid of the Kythera Empire to risk open war. Dr. Okafor stepped forward, his eyes bright with desperate hope. Captain, the forge. It's been scanning us too. The energy patterns suggest it's trying to interface with our ship's computer systems. Sarah O'Brien nodded excitedly. The forge is sending data packets to our engineering systems. It's like it wants to upgrade us. Elena looked at the ancient structure on the main screen. The architects had vanished 50,000 years ago, but they had left this forge behind. Had they known that someday someone would need it? Had they been waiting for the right species to find it? Dr. Okafor, what's your professional opinion? Could the architects have left the forge as some kind of test? The xenorchaeologists study the incoming data streams. Captain, I think the forge was designed to recognize certain qualities in whoever found it. Courage, creativity, the will to protect others rather than just themselves. The architects may have been looking for worthy successors. Elena made the hardest decision of her life. She turned to face her crew, seeing fear and determination in equal measure on their faces. We're not running, she announced. If the Kythera want to enslave humanity, they'll have to go through us first. Sarah, begin interface protocols with the forge. Dr. Okafor, I want you to find out everything you can about architect technology. Marcus, prepare the ship for combat. Marcus looked at her with concern. Captain, we're 1 ship against 40. Even with architect technology, the odds. The odds don't matter, Elena interrupted. What matters is that we're human. We don't abandon our families. We don't surrender our freedom. And we don't let bullies destroy everything we've built. She turned back to the view screen, watching as the ancient forge began to glow brighter. Energy patterns danced across its surface, and Elena could swear she felt something responding. Not just the technology, but something deeper. The Forge was awakening after 50,000 years of sleep, and it was choosing humanity as its inheritors. All hands. This is the captain, Elena announced over the ship's comm system. We are about to attempt something that has never been done before. We're going to merge human technology with architect systems. It's dangerous, and I won't order anyone to stay. Anyone who wants to transfer to the escape pods can do so now. She waited, but no one moved. Every member of her crew remained at their stations, ready to face the impossible alongside their captain. The U.S. Starforge docked with the ancient forge, and immediately Elena felt the change. The ship's systems began evolving, growing, becoming something new. The merge wasn't just technological, it was deeper than that. The forge was reading their minds, their hearts, their determination to protect what they loved. Through the connection, Elena sensed the last message of the architects. They had faced their own extinction at the hands of a galactic empire, but they had chosen to leave behind hope rather than revenge. The Forge would give worthy species the tools they needed to defend themselves, but only if they proved they would use that power to protect others, not to conquer. As the transformation completed, Elena realized that humanity was no longer just the galaxy's engineers and builders. They were about to become something else entirely, the guardians that the architects had always hoped would rise. The Kythera Empire was about to learn why that was a very dangerous thing to be. The Forge burns bright. The transformation of the U.S. Starforge was unlike anything Elena Vasquez had ever experienced. As the ancient forge merged with their ship, she felt the consciousness of the architects flow through her mind like a river of liquid starlight. The ship around them grew and changed, bulkheads shifting and reforming as new systems integrated seamlessly with human technology. Sarah O'Brien stood at her engineering station, tears streaming down her face as she watched displays she had never seen before come online. "Captain, it's beautiful," she whispered. "The Forge isn't just upgrading our systems. It's learning from us. It's taking our engineering principles and making them better." The ship's hull rippled like water, then solidified into something stronger than anything humans had ever built. New weapon systems emerged from the ship's surface, but they weren't crude implements of destruction. They were elegant, precise, designed to disable rather than annihilate whenever possible. Dr. Okafor was studying the flood of data from the architect systems. "Captain, I'm reading the Forge's memories. The architects faced the same choice we're facing now. An empire that believed might made right, that saw other species as resources to be consumed. They chose to fight, but they also chose to prepare for the future." Elena nodded, understanding flooding through her as the merge completed. The Starforge was no longer just a human ship enhanced with alien technology. It was something new, a fusion of human creativity and architect wisdom. Most importantly, it was still fundamentally human in its values and purpose. "Captain," Marcus called out, his voice tight with urgency. "The Kythera fleet is moving. They're not waiting for their deadline." On the main screen, Elena could see the alien fleet advancing through space like a swarm of predators. Each Kythera ship was built for one purpose: war. They had conquered 17 species with these vessels, turning entire worlds into slave colonies. "How many ships are we facing?" Elena asked. 43 vessels total," Marcus replied. 3 planet killers, 12 heavy cruisers, and 28 assault ships. "Captain, even with our upgrades, we're still vastly outnumbered." Elena felt the Forge's consciousness touch her mind again, sharing the wisdom of the architects. Numbers weren't everything. The Kythera had superior firepower, but they fought with arrogance. They had never faced an enemy that could adapt and evolve during battle. "Sarah, what's our status?" Elena asked. The engineer's eyes were bright with excitement and fear. "Captain, the Forge has given us capabilities I can barely understand. Our shields don't just block energy. They can absorb and redirect it. Our weapons can adapt to enemy defenses in real time, and the ship's hull can literally reshape itself for optimal performance." Lieutenant Sophia Rise looked up from her pilot's station. "Captain, I'm feeling something strange. It's like the ship is responding to my thoughts before I even touch the controls." Elena nodded. The Forge wasn't just upgrading their technology. It was creating a symbiotic relationship between the crew and the ship. Human intuition and creativity were being amplified by architect precision and knowledge. "All hands, battle stations," Elena announced. "We're about to show the galaxy what humans can do when we're protecting our home." The U.S. Starforge moved away from the ancient forge, its new form sleek and powerful. The ship's hull shimmered with energy patterns that seemed almost alive. As they approached the Kythera fleet, Elena could see the enemy ships forming their traditional attack formation, a crushing wall of firepower designed to overwhelm any opposition. War Prime Zethrak's voice crackled over the communication system. "Foolish humans, you should have run while you had the chance. We will add your ship to our collection before we burn your colonies." Elena stepped forward, feeling the power of the Forge flowing through her. "War Prime Zethrak, this is your last chance to withdraw. Leave this system now, and we won't pursue you." The Kythera's laugh was like breaking glass. "One ship against our entire fleet. Your species truly is as stupid as we believed." The first Kythera attack wave consisted of 6 assault ships, each one larger than the original Starforge. They opened fire with plasma cannons that could melt through any known armor. The energy beams struck the Starforge shields and simply stopped. The ship's new defensive systems absorbed the plasma energy and converted it into power for their own weapons. "Impossible," Zethrak snarled from his flagship. Elena smiled grimly. "Sarah, return fire. Let's show them what human engineering looks like when it's angry." The Starforge's new weapons fired, but they weren't the crude energy beams the Kythera expected. Instead, streams of adaptive energy reached out like intelligent tentacles, wrapping around the enemy ships and overloading their systems. 2 of the assault ships simply shut down, their crews paralyzed but alive. The other 4 exploded as their reactors overloaded. The Kythera fleet recoiled in shock. In their entire history, they had never seen weapons that could choose between disabling and destroying based on the tactical situation. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel," Zethrak ordered. "Bring the planet killers to bear." 12 heavy cruisers opened fire simultaneously, their combined assault enough to crack a small moon. But the Starforge was no longer where they aimed. Sophia Rise had merged her consciousness with the ship's navigation systems, and the vessel moved like a living thing, dancing between the energy beams with impossible grace. As the Starforge flew through the Kythera formation, its hull began to shift and adapt. Weapon ports opened and closed as needed, the ship's surface rippling to deflect incoming fire. It was like watching a single warrior dance through an army of giants, striking with precision while avoiding their clumsy attacks. Dr. Okafor was monitoring the battle from his station, his eyes wide with wonder. "Captain, the Forge is learning from every engagement. It's analyzing Kythera tactics and developing countermeasures in real time." Elena nodded, feeling the ancient intelligence guiding her decisions. The architects had faced a similar enemy long ago, and their knowledge was flowing through the ship's systems. But it was human creativity that was adapting that knowledge to the current situation. The Starforge struck again, its weapons reaching out to disable 3 more Kythera ships. But instead of simply shutting them down, the ship's systems began broadcasting a message on all frequencies, not in words, but in pure emotion and memory. The broadcast carried the story of every species the Kythera had enslaved, every world they had burned, every family they had torn apart. It carried the hope of the architects, the determination of humanity, and most importantly, the promise that bullies would no longer be allowed to prey on the innocent. Several Kythera ships began to slow their advance. Elena realized with amazement that some of the crews were beginning to question their empire's methods. But War Prime Zethrak was not one to be swayed by conscience. "Deploy the planet killers," he roared. "I don't care if we destroy half our own fleet. That ship must be eliminated." The three massive vessels at the center of the Kythera formation began to power up their primary weapons, massive particle beam arrays designed to crack planetary crusts. Each planet killer was a mile long and carried enough firepower to sterilize a world. Elena felt the Forge's consciousness surge with alarm. These weapons were too powerful to simply absorb or deflect. The Starforge would have to meet them head-on with something equally devastating. "Sarah, can we do it?" Elena asked quietly. The engineer's hands were flying over her controls, working with systems she was only beginning to understand. "Captain, the Forge is offering us access to its primary construction beam. It's the same energy that built the original Architect fleet. But if we use it, what's the risk? The ship might not be able to contain that much power. We could burn out every system we have." Elena looked around the bridge at her crew. These people had followed her into the impossible, trusting her judgment even when it meant facing certain death. Now she was asking them to risk everything on a technology they barely understood. "It's your call, Captain," Marcus said quietly. "Whatever you decide, we're with you." Elena closed her eyes, feeling the weight of not just her crew's lives, but the future of humanity itself. If they failed here, the Kythera would sweep through human space like a plague, enslaving every colony and burning every world that resisted. "Do it," she ordered. The U.S. Starforge began to glow like a newborn star. Energy patterns raced across its hull as the ancient Forge's primary systems came online for the first time in 50,000 years. The ship's form began to change again, elongating and reshaping itself into something that was part vessel, part weapon, part work of art. The three planet killers fired their particle beams, streams of destructive energy that could have destroyed an entire solar system. At the same moment, the Starforge released the Forge's primary beam. Not a weapon of destruction, but a tool of creation turned to defensive purposes. The beams met in space between the fleets, and something unprecedented happened. Instead of annihilating each other, the energies began to interact, creating new patterns and structures. The Starforge's beam was rewriting the very nature of the Kythera weapons, turning tools of destruction into tools of healing and renewal. The energy from the collision washed over both fleets, but its effects were completely different. The Kythera ships found their weapon systems disabled, their life support enhanced, their crews suddenly experiencing emotions they had never felt before: compassion, empathy, the desire to build rather than destroy. The remaining ships of the Kythera fleet began to power down their weapons. Across the communication channels, Elena could hear voices. Alien voices speaking in wonder and confusion as they experienced conscience for the first time in their species' history. War Prime Zethrak's voice cut through the chaos, filled with rage and desperation. "All ships, retreat. Retreat immediately. We cannot fight this enemy." But many of his ships weren't retreating. Instead, they were opening communication channels to the Starforge, their crews asking questions they had never thought to ask before. What was it like to build instead of destroy? What was it like to protect instead of conquer? Elena stood at the center of her bridge, feeling the ancient Forge's satisfaction flowing through her consciousness. This was what the architects had always hoped for, not just the defeat of bullies, but their transformation into something better. As the remaining Kythera ships jumped to hyperspace, Elena realized that the galaxy had changed forever. Humanity was no longer seen as just peaceful engineers and builders. They had become something new, the inheritors of the architect's legacy, the guardians who would stand between the innocent and those who would harm them. The U.S. Starforge had entered the war as a single exploration vessel facing impossible odds. It emerged as the herald of a new age, carrying the hopes and dreams of every species that had ever suffered under tyranny. The Forge still burned bright in the darkness of space, waiting for the next worthy species to find it. But humanity had proven themselves, and the galaxy would never be the same. Elena looked out at the stars and smiled. The real adventure was just beginning.